So quickly, we are going to move on to the next speaker. So our next speaker is passionate about science and decentralization. He will be making a case for DeSci in Africa. So, ladies and gentlemen, with a round of applause, let's make welcome Mosadoluwa Fasasi. Am I saying that correctly? A round of applause till he gets here, please. Did I say that well? Fasasi. Awesome. All right. Thank you. Okay.
Hi, everybody. Hello, Web3Lagos conference. Okay, let's do something real quick. When I say hello, you say hi, but I want us to be rhythmic about it. I want us to follow a rhythm, all right? So when I say hello, you say hi. When I say hello, you say. 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 Awesome, I like the energy. So my name is Mosadoluwa Fasasi, and I am a solutions architect, and I also lead operations at Decentralization Science Nigeria. Today, I'm making a case for DeSci in Africa, and before I proceed with my case, are there researchers, scientists, academia, anybody like that in the house? Anyone here? Researchers? None. Okay, undergraduate students, master students, postgraduate students. Okay, awesome. I see a hand there. So this should be interesting to you. Proceeding with my case. All right, this should move. Why is it not moving? Okay, great. So my case is in two sessions. The first one is DeSci in a nutshell, and the second part of it is Decentralized Science Nigeria as a case study. DeSci in a nutshell, the open science movement. Historically, most of what we call decentralized science today started and evolved from the open science movement. And if you wonder what is the open science movement, basically, just as the name implies, it says it's an advocation for science, scientific knowledge, scientific findings to be open to people beyond the scientific community. Should be open to people beyond background, beyond their academic qualification, beyond their economic status. And the open science itself dates even further back to the 16th, the 17th century in times of scientists and great minds of our time like Francis Bacon, Robert Hooke, Galileo, Sir Isaac Newton, and all of those people, and towards the creation of the Royal Society of London. And it was during the creation of the Royal Society of London that we historically written that we have the first scientific publication. At the time, it wasn't called a publication, it was more of a newsletter that just allowed scientists across the globe to share little notes and preambles of what they were working on and what they were finding with their immediate community, and it was disseminated across board for people to follow. But over the years, that little newsletter that started at the Royal Society of London has evolved into what we now call the publishing industry, or the publication industry right now in academia. And the evolution has also brought about a lot of hindrances, and this is the reason why I asked about people who are undergraduates or master students or who are doing research. If you have done a final year project in your school, you are required to successfully graduate from any university in Nigeria, you are required to carry out a final year project. And to carry out the final year project, you are required to carry out a literature review. And for you to be able to do your literature review, it means you have to look for studies and build upon all of the studies to make a case for whatever topic or whatever discipline that you're working on. But The interesting thing that happens when you try to do all of these things is that you go online to find papers, to consult journals that you will build your case upon, but most of them are locked behind paywalls. And that is the case for the publication industry today. About 2 to 3 million papers are being written every year, and about 90% of them are locked behind paywalls. This hinders the original idea that this great minds of our time had for the Royal Society of London. It hinders innovation, it hinders collaboration. You as a young researcher, you as a young scholar, you are not able to build upon what are the existing work in your industry, and then you might even have to start from scratch. All of this just hinder the flow of knowledge and the idea that science should be open and academic knowledge should be made available to people beyond borders. We have a lot of moving pieces that comprise of the open science movement. We have open access, which deals with publication, which is the very first or the anchor point of open science, because it started with the publication, as I already established, from the Royal Society of London. But as research and academia matured, there are other parts and pieces that eventually came to form it. Like the way research is being done has also evolved per time, because software came into it, technology came into it, and then we talk about open software, we talk about open data, we talk about open methods. And open data essentially talks about, for a data to be truly, truly open, it has to be findable, it has to be accessible, it has to be interoperable, it has to be reusable. And for open software as well, and a lot of people have been talking about open source since we've been here this morning. This also ties a little bit into it. You have to ensure that if the software or the open source protocol that you're working on or that you're contributing to has to be made open, the tools have to be documented properly. The educational resources, whether in articles, whether in videos, they have to be made open and properly documented so that anybody that wants to build on what already exists or the protocol that you're working on know exactly what to do and how to reproduce all of these things. Open methods also talk about procedures. For how many of us were in the science class when we were in the senior secondary school? Science students. Awesome. So for procedures, when you did stuff like titration, or you did light experiment with prism or maybe a block prism, there were always procedures that you wrote to arrive at the findings that you arrived at. So all of these things are part of open science, that if truly that your scientific or your inferences from this study, if truly that they are going to be open, these methods and these procedures that you have used to arrive at these conclusions must also be made open so that it can help reproducibility. So decentralized science, as I said, most of what we call decentralized science today is an evolution of the open science movement. And the way I like to simply explain DeSci is just that everything I've said about open science, now leveraging the Web3 stack. And when I say the Web3 stack, I talk about things like the decentralized finance, which is a big one. I talk about frameworks that govern decentralization, like decentralized autonomous organization, consensus mechanisms, quadratic funding, and all of these ideals and philosophy that govern the decentralized world and the ecosystem. And contrasting DeSci with TradSci, so the traditional way of doing science is you are, at the bare minimum, you are affiliated to an institution. When you are affiliated to an institution, maybe you finish your undergraduate studies, you decide to pursue further and go for a master's student and go further to a doctorate level. When you want to execute your studies, you ideally have to look for people who give grants. So you write proposals, and then pray to God that you are selected. And if you're not selected, you write another proposal, pray to God that you're selected, and all of these processes. But for traditional, that is the familiar approach with traditional science. Emmanuel earlier talked about the mirror token. That is another way where decentralized science differs from traditional science. You would not necessarily have to go to any organization or any grant-giving body to get grant and then to further your research. And a good analogy that I like to also make when I try to contrast DeSci with TradSci is that if there are 1,000 of us in this room and 10 people are assigned to manage 1,000 people, 10 people may successfully manage 1,000 people, but they're going to have a harder time compared to if 100 people are set to manage 1,000 people. 100 people would effortlessly manage 1,000 people, right? Because the head count per person, the head count per manager is just evenly distributed in a very close manner. Those of us who were like class reps or captains or maybe you even have children, not children, maybe younger ones at home. You know how you know how these things are, right? So when we scale that up, the 1 to 1,000 analogy, when we scale that up to look at the population of the world, the same bodies that have been deciding what kind of research gets funded, when it gets funded, and how it gets funded are still the same body that have been doing all of these things for over close to more than 100 years, right? And looking at the population of the world, we keep growing at a very exponential rate. So you would agree with me that the same people that are governing when the world was, as, let's say, 1 billion people cannot be the same kind of set of people, or they can still be the same set of people, but they are going to have a harder time managing the exponential rate of the world as it is growing up until 8 billion people. So what decentralized science essentially does is it offers an alternative path for scientific endeavors, for research, for knowledge finding, for truth seeking. It offers an alternative path for it to continue to grow at the rate that it's supposed to grow, so that we as individuals, we as the citizens of the world, we can be able to develop problems and even predict some of the things that would happen. I mean, there is climate change that is going on. There are a lot of problems that are happening that needs to be researched into, and then solutions have to be forecasted from all of these things. And another analogy is DeFi. We are very, very, I'm sure that most of us, even if we don't have, we know of MetaMask wallet, Phantom, or something like that, that you, as a Lagosian based here, you can exchange value with someone that you've never seen, never met in Asia, in Europe, in North America, and then value can flow seamlessly beyond borders. You don't have to go to a bank, set up paperwork, set up domiciliary account. That exactly is what DeSci is doing for scientific realm, for the academia realm, to make it seamless and to make it essentially borderless. The ecosystem map, yeah. So the DeSci itself is actually still very, very young. I think there was this man called David Capsule that he properly initiated the name. I think it was around 2021. So it's still a very, very early ecosystem and early community. But there are more projects than this. I just use this snapshot because, of course, DeSci Nigeria is listed on DeSci World. DeSci World tries to build a social layer for the DeSci ecosystem to bring all of these projects together. So whatever discipline that you're working on, whether in the physics or humanities, social sciences, law, whatever it is, you can always find a group of people, a DAO that is working on something that you can participate in. So that's my first part. And the second part, DeSci NG as a case study. So contextualizing DeSci, it was in late 2024 that I properly began to look into DeSci, and the question that made itself apparent to me is, what exactly can DeSci unlock for us as Nigerians and as Africans, and to ensure that we are not just chanting decentralization and copying and pasting what is working somewhere into our ecosystem. What exactly is that fundamental thing that it unlocks for us as Nigerians and then as Africans? And this question has led to myself and my team working on this for over the last close to a year, and it has led to some of these initiatives that I'm sharing with you. A research repository. So we're currently building out the decentralized research repository that allows for the exchange of knowledge across universities in Nigeria and beyond, even for African universities. And the reason why we're doing this is for any person, any group of people, any town, city, nation, country, continent to grow, to evolve, they have to have a fundamental understanding of where they're coming from, that is their history, and then they have to have a continuous cooking pot of ideas, like a forgery that research and development is constantly going on, back and forth. They're making inferences, they're connecting the dots to the present, and then they are extrapolating to design what their future could look like. And that is why we are building this decentralized research repository. Now we have about 15 universities across Nigeria that are already populating our repository with studies across sciences, social sciences, health, and lots more. So the second one is Project Showcase. Project Showcase is essentially designed, I'm rushing because she's here and she's nagging me. So Project Showcase is essentially designed for young graduates, and then we know that sometimes mostly Nigerian university, final year studies, and then final year project. Final year basically is mostly tumultuous for many, many people. And Project Showcase is a way to fill in some of these gaps that we've already identified in our universities and our tertiary institutions. So we offer funding for young researchers. We support them with those who are fabricating tools in the physics, in the engineering, for those who are printing questionnaires, traveling to places to look into problems and solutions. And another thing that we're working on is the Research Jam. The Research Jam essentially is a symposium for knowledge sharing and knowledge facilitation sessions. So we were having researchers, young researchers, skilled researchers, stakeholders, policymakers, and discussing some of these things that we're extrapolating from our research repository. So, thank you. To us, decentralized science isn't just another buzzword. It is the very ideal that we are building on to increase our collective knowledge bank. I'm going to say that one more time. To us, decentralized science isn't just another buzzword. It is the very ideal that we are building on to increase our collective knowledge bank. Thank you very much for your time. My name is Mosadoluwa Fasasi. To get to know more about us and what we do, you can scan this QR code for DeSci NG, and that is my Twitter. Feel free to collaborate, partner with people, and yeah, happy to talk more.
Thank you very much. A round of applause, please. Thank you so much.